Welcome everyone to this exciting interview segment. Today we have the pleasure of sitting down with Bourke Floyd, star of the Lifetime movie, The Life I Can't Remember. Bourke takes on the role of Chief Moore. Join us as we delve into Bourke's insights into his character and the challenges of filming this movie. Thank you for being here, Bourke.
Thank you so much for having me. I really love. I'm such a fan of what you all cover and of your coverage, and I love watching your interviews with some of my friends. Actually, several of my friends have had the opportunity to be interviewed by you all, and I love it. So thanks for having me.
Thank you, it's a pleasure. So, can you tell us a little bit about your character in The Life I Can't Remember?
Sure. Yeah. So, the premise of the life I can't remember, as so many of the great Lifetime stories do, has the twists and the turns and all of that. But it starts with an accident of sorts, and this woman losing her memory, and so there are, and then everything unfolds from there. But in the accident issue, there's a question of how this accident happened and whether or not it's criminal. And so, as the chief of police, a detective is assigned to investigate. And as the chief of police, I'm following up on this detective, and played wonderfully, by the way. She's incredibly talented, the young lady playing the detective, and I loved working with her. And in following up, like any great story, particularly on Lifetime, but like any great story, there are these twists and these things that aren't adding up. And so, as chief of police, I have to call her out on them. I have to kind of follow up and where are we on this thing and what's happening? And then when she starts telling me, when you watch a great Lifetime movie, there's so many of them, but when you watch a great Lifetime movie and your gut as the audience and you're like, oh, no, 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 that's not right, that maybe they did it.
Yeah.
The detective is, sharing that with me, as her boss. And, I have to trust her and go out on a limb with her and allow her to continue to follow and tug at that thread. I think part of it is that she's got her own history in the police force. She may have not followed up on something before that she wanted to. And maybe she followed too far on some things. And so it was a lot of fun. Amy Barrett, the director, is, I mean, she's an icon. She directs so many great projects, not just for Lifetime, but for Lifetime. She's done some real hitters. And the script is so great that it was a lot of fun to play sort of, as Chief Moore, to play the sounding board that that helps along with the audience. It's so cool when you get to ask the question that the audience is also asking. It's kind of a great opportunity on these movies in particular. So
Great. And what initially attracted you to your role in this movie?
it's funny. I actually auditioned for a different role in the movie initially, and then casting, um, which are the casting directors on this one are the team of Pembroke Frank, and those two have cast so many things, and it's, as an actor, there are directors you want to work with, and other actors you want to work with, and writers you want to work with, and networks you want to be on, all of that. But for casting directors, that's who we as actors will have the most immediate and consistent, relationship with. And so, Henrik Frank, I had auditioned for them so many different times on so many different things, and I'm pretty sure, I think this is the first one that I had booked with them. It might not have been. It might not have been. But I've booked a few with them now. But it was that was one of the things that I was excited to see when my agent sent me the original audition, was that it was them. And then you look further and you see that Amy Barrett's directing, and you're like, oh man, I really hope I can get in on this. And so the role they originally had me audition for, you know, I did an audition, and it was, you know, it just is what it is, right? Is that you try not to worry about it because it's out of my control now. Um, and I don't think in acting, I don't practice like competition. It's not. I'm too busy rooting for all my other friends that are actors to like be in competition with them. You know, so I really just didn't think about it after. And then I get an email back from my agent saying, "Hey, you know, they were wondering if you would want to play Chief Moore instead." And I was stoked. I mean, you know, and so that's but really I think casting, Pembroke Front casting, and then because you know what they cast are always going to be really solid. So that got me super stoked. And then when I saw Amy Barrett, you know, then when I saw the producers on it, I was like, oh man, I really hope. And not for nothing, but the young man that plays the lead, Gabriel, on this, Gabe, he and I have been friends for a long time. I think we did something on for Vet TV maybe 3 or 4 years ago. Oh no, you know what it is? We did Wild West Chronicles for INSP for the INSP. We both guest starred on an episode of that together in the same episode and worked together. And I love that guy, and he's such a good dude. So you can imagine when I hadn't heard. That's a funny story about this one. I had not heard because I didn't book the role that I had originally auditioned for. I'd seen an announcement of Gabe getting this movie that his agent had posted. Hand to God, it's not competition. I won't do that. I just don't live there. And I don't think I'd even auditioned for his role anyway, but it doesn't matter. I sent him a congratulations. I was so stoked for him and to be the lead in one. It's so cool. And then 2 hours later, my phone hits. And I'm like, what is this? Oh, and I was like, Gabe, never mind, bro. I think I'm working with you. You know what I mean? Like, it was. I mean, when I congratulated him, I didn't say, "Oh, I auditioned for that and didn't get it." So it wasn't like that. I just congratulated him, and then lo and behold, you turn around. So, yeah, this was a fun one on the booking process of it.
That's amazing. And what do you think makes this movie so special and captivating?
I think so. When you have a great script, there's some magic that has to come together. A great script is so hard to come by. We're spoiled a little bit, right? Because if it's being made, if it's actually getting made, the chances are that it's already based off of a pretty solid script. But that doesn't mean that the writers haven't thrown away 25 other scripts. It takes so much incredible talent and work and effort to get a great script and a cool idea, a different idea. And so this one has that, but that basis, which is so important, is still so far from the finish line of a great finished product, you know? And I think on this one, I really got to say that Amy Barrett, she's so much fun to work with. Um, and she's just so much fun to work with. And she's so encouraging, but she'll let you know, you know, there are some people that do that and like, you know, you never get direction. You know what I mean? And it's still fun, and maybe it comes together really well. But she still gives direction. She still calls you on it. She still gives great notes. But she's a joy to work with, and I think that is the thing that makes that. Have you ever had like have you ever had your mom's, like, you're Italian. Have you ever had like Sunday dinner with the gravy and all of that? And like, you know, your family, whoever made that, right? Whoever it was in the kitchen and it's like made with love. And I mean, we kind of take that for granted, but you know the difference. You know the difference when somebody put their back into it and love into it and are excited for you to try their food. And they've made it for you because they love you. That's what working with Amy Barrett is like. And so the finished product is just better because everybody's working together to get it done. And I don't know, she is just, and she's a firecracker too. Like she'll cut, Amy Barrett will cut you. No, she's a firecracker though too. She's just I think that really is what brings the magic to it.
Great. And what do you hope audiences will take away from watching this movie?
Well, I'll say this, right? We live in a world right now that it's a little bit the upside down, right? And I say that with taking no sides and making no commentary on anything other than to say that there's a lot of divisiveness. There's a lot in our world right now, and a lot of things working in opposition. And um, throughout the history of time, frankly, and the existence of man, theater and art and storytelling, and you know, through our darkest days, have all has always been there to help us, whether it be an escape or a reflection of us to ourselves, to help us maybe see a little more clearly through a different lens, no pun intended, what is right or wrong, or how we could better find what unites us, you know? And I think if for 2 hours on this Sunday night, everyone gets an opportunity, and then I think streaming, right? But if everybody gets an opportunity, whoever watches it, if it gives them a break from even anything too, I mean, just anything, if it gives you a break, I really, that's what I hope it delivers, a little bit of enjoyment and some fun. And also, you know, they're caught, the person, I don't want to give anything away, right? But just, they don't get away with it.
Mm.
And so that, you know, watching the person trying to get away with something not get away with it, I hope they feel good about that too.
Great.
Because Chief Moore's on the case. I don't know.
Great answer. So you mentioned earlier, but what was it like working with the rest of the cast and crew on set?
Yeah. Oh man, it was so cool. Actually, one of the days we were working, this is another kind of weird oddity in our business in acting. And every project you get on, if you're being honest with yourself, if you look around, because we play pretend for a living, every project has these moments where you look around and you're like, how is this my life? You know?
Yeah.
But on this one, there was a day we were shooting, a couple of days we were shooting in this camp at this campus just outside in Riverside County, just outside of LA. And it's I think it was like a community college at one point, but it's no longer, they've moved locations or something. And so, you know, kind of a spread out, beautiful little campus or whatever. And they were doing some kind of auto drive testing for Teslas on the campus, you know,
Yeah.
because it's a campus thing. So it's got winding, everything, and nobody's really there but us. And so it was like, it was just surreal because there would be a Tesla, and then you would look on the other side and there were three more, and they would drive and stop. And then they would drive and stop. And they would drive and all day. It was all day. So all of us were like, anybody know what's going on with the test? I mean, there was 100, maybe 200 of them. It was all day throughout the campus. And so it was just funny to all of us to be like, we're here making this move, because it's so easy to live in a bubble, especially when you're making a movie or a show, because you are playing pretend. So it's like, you know, you walk in and it's daytime and it's beautiful, and you walk in and they've got a sound stage decked out, shooting day for night, right? So it looks nighttime, and the clocks and all of that. So it is surreal already. And then that like sci-fi aspect of just all these Teslas driving, by themselves, just driving, empty, driving all over the lot. I think I left that part out. There was nobody driving them. They were just empty, driving. And so it was, we're all like, okay, anybody know what's up with they're not like somebody's controlling this, right? Like they aren't taking over the world. Like we're not going to leave set and be like, oh, sorry, Tesla runs the world now, are we? Anyway, it was, but yeah, it was a great time on the set. And I mean, I think we all understood what we were working on, which is kind of a cool, and again, that all of that comes back to Amy and to her team, to the entire crew that she brings with her, and the way they just bring joy to the fact that, like, what a gift it is to get to do this thing for a living. I mean, what a gift. Like, who am I to, who I mean, I get it, you can complain about anything. I don't know what good it'll be. But anybody can complain. But you won't find me doing it. I love working, and I love working, especially when it's on something that you can tell is going to be good, and that everybody else loves being there, working hard too. So it was a real gift to be a part of this one.
That's amazing. So, what can you tease about your character journey?
Oh, because I'm the chief, I get all the intel. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I really, and on this one, it's got a good, there's some twists to it. So I don't want to give too much away. I will say, I think it goes back to I think what I would tease is that it goes back to a little bit of what I already mentioned of I will voice I have the joy, the benefit of getting to voice the questions that you, the audience, may already be like, but what about you know what I mean? And like, so
Yeah.
I get to tug at the thread that you're already, I mean, like in a horror movie where you're like, don't go in there. Why are you going in there? Don't go in there. I get to, you know what I mean? I get to tug at that thread a little bit. Yeah. I get to say, but did you talk to this individual? Well, what did they say? And you were okay with that? Like, I get to say some of the things that you as the audience are like, yo, you got to go back and talk to that person. You better talk to that person. You better ask them again. That kind of thing. So so hopefully you'll get, as an audience, you'll have a good time with me grilling that side of it.
We can say Chuck Moore is the Jiminy Cricket of this movie.
Brilliant. I'm going to steal that. That's great. Yeah, exactly. Yes, I'm the Jiminy Cricket. Yeah, and you should really hear me sing When You Wish Upon a Star. It's choice. No, you really don't want to hear me sing When You Wish Upon a Star, trust me. But
So, what was your favorite scene or moment while filming this movie?
um yeah, there was we had a hard scene together where she may have gone too far, our lead detective, and I come in to rein her in, and she convinces me to to trust her just a little, just give her a little more, um, and that she's so talented, and Amy Barrett, and having Amy there directing is like such a an incredible part of that too, and so it like that combination allowed for that not to be just a trope that happens in a movie. You know what I mean? It was great. Typhine is like an incredibly talented actress. And so, I mean, oh, by the way, I don't know if she's okay, just so people know, she was in The Lion King on Broadway. Get out. Like I would lead with that when I walked into. I would walk into rooms if I had been in The Lion King on Broadway. I would, for the rest of my life, every time I walked into a room, I would. Well, it's a circle of life. I would walk in letting you know The Lion King on Broadway. Like you don't get, you know what I mean? Like she is mad talented. But so that was probably my favorite scene because she was so true to it and she was so honest and like man, if she put some sauce on it, it was great. And again, you've got a director that lets you do that. You
Okay,
have to have a director that lets you do that.
great. So, change of subject.
Mhm.
What have been some of the most memorable projects you have worked on throughout your career, and why for you?
Oh, great question. So a long time ago, I took a large amount of time off from acting over a decade because of I lost somebody in my family, and it was and so
I'm sorry.
that's okay. Yeah. So there was so it's two totally bookended chapters. I never thought I would be acting again or anything like that. So from the first chapter of it, uh, I was on a show called Dawson's Creek, and I auditioned for that 13 times for 13 different roles on that show before I booked the role that I played, Brady. Um, and so, and I think the first time I auditioned for it was the second season. And Brady, I didn't come on until the fifth season. Brady is, I played in the fifth season of it, a bunch of the fifth season. So, um, there, um, so I would say that one, a part of it was also that like, um, because that also helped teach me that if you're right for the if you're you might not be right for that role, but that doesn't mean that you're not right for a role, and that you have to have faith and trust in that and not be competitive with the person that books that role because it's no one's fault at all, and you're not a victim because you didn't book a role. You just it wasn't your role. And rejection is God's protection. And like, chill out. You know what I mean? Show up the next time and just do the best you can on the next one and keep going until you book. And because Dawson's Creek was such a big show, um, that so many people were watching, like at the time, like my age, that
Mine
to
too.
finally, oh yeah, yeah, okay, yeah, to finally have booked it was like was just this incredible. I mean, like Paula Cole was just on The Masked Singer here. Spoiler alert if you're not caught up, she was already revealed last week. So spoiler alert if you haven't watched the most recent episode of The Masked Singer. My son loves it. I love it. We sit and watch it together. So it's one of those shows that we can goof off on together.
Yeah.
But uh, she was just revealed, and when she was revealed, obviously she had not sung, I don't want to wait yet because anybody would know, like they would know it was her. But once she was revealed, that's the song that she performed. And by the way, I knew, and I should get my son here to tell you, I knew the second she started singing, the first time I was like, I know that voice. I know that voice. And then it took me a minute, but on her first episode, I figured out that it was her because she has one of those voices, and I've heard that particular song so much. Um, but when she sang it at the end, even just when that
Yes.
the even just now doing it, I got because I remember what it meant to me, to have finally been able to be a part of a show that I'd wanted to be a part of, and that I had not been the right role for so many different times, and the payoff was pretty incredible for that. So I'd say that from the first chapter of it, and then now I've had I just now I'm just so much more enjoying the ride of it. Um, and I would like to think that I was grateful before, but I don't know that I really even understood what true gratitude for this profession was then. I didn't I don't want to pretend that it came super easy for me. But it came pretty easy the first time around. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It came pretty quick. Maybe quick is the right way to. It came pretty quickly
yeah,
for me the first time around. Um, and so this time, knowing that that's just not the pace that it usually goes, and not how it normally works, I'm so much more grateful. Like when I book a network show and I go to work, I, I like I just try to remember. I love movies. I love TV. Let me tell you something. I If I weren't doing this job, I would still be following your Instagram. I would still be watching the interviews. I would still be watching the movies. The 12 years that I wasn't involved at all in the entertainment industry and I was doing something completely different from the entertainment industry, I was still watching movies.
yeah.
I was still loving the shows. I was still sitting on the edge of my seat. I was still, having an appreciation for it. And so um, now being a part of it in that way, like still, it just bowls me over in a manner that I can't even, and the fact that the fact that you would want to have a conversation with me, or that any of your readers and viewers and followers, from Survive the Show are like, yeah, I want to. Oh man, that's like I remember when. Like that to me is I could never repay you all and this industry and just the people that watch this stuff as a whole. I could never express just how much it means to me that I get to be a part of it and that I get to make my living that way. And so I think they all sort of, I have such an appreciation for all of them now, to a degree. Plus, I die in almost all of them. I don't, or maybe I do in this one. I don't know. I don't know. But I like, that like even that has become such a fun thing for me. Um, dying in different, really cool ways. I don't know, as silly as that sounds. Like on the cleaning lady, I was on the series on Fox, the cleaning lady, and the way they killed my character off is like, and I got to do my own stunt on it. I mean, it gets suffocated with a zip tie in a clear plastic bag. It's just insane. You're like, I'm doing this for a living. I'm at work right now. This is
Okay.
wild. So, so all of them, I think, so many of them now mean so much to me. And the opportunity that I have when people like you um, want to talk about it, I can't help but get geeked up, and it also reminds me that like we have an opportunity and sort of an obligation to each other to do what we can as human beings in whatever manner we can to bring a little bit of joy into everybody's, and I get to do it through acting, but I also try to do it but just holding the door for somebody at the, or you know what I mean, or like just, or giving a smile to a stranger, as dumb as it sounds. I get to do it in all kinds of ways, and everyone can, and so I think that that's one of the real gifts of what I do for a living, is that sometimes every once in a while someone's just excited to bump into me at the grocery store or something like that, and that is like, I don't know. I'm humbled by it to a way I can't quite explain. So,
Agree. So now I can tell my favorites in your filmography.
oh, okay.
Station 19, One Tree Hill, and Dawson Creek. You
Oh,
just,
really?
yeah, you just talk about Dawson Creek. Can you tell us
Sure.
your memories about the other two projects, Station 19 and One Tree Hill?
Yeah. Oh man, so One Tree Hill was so cool. It was so cool to be back in Wilmington. It filmed in Wilmington, North Carolina, which is where we filmed Dawson's. And David Hartley and Greg Prange, who were, you know, uh, the hands-on producers on Dawson's when I was on it, were also involved on One Tree. And Chad, Michael Murray. Um, and so I think with One Tree Hill, um, I think my favorite part about getting to be a part of that show was being back in Wilmington a couple of years later, a few years later, and being able to appreciate it even more. Um, and in between there, we had, not to bring it down, in between there, we had 9/11, we had all these different things
Yeah.
here in our, and so to still be doing it and then to come full circle into back to Wilmington. Brian Greenberg and I worked together on that show, and like I love Brian and BG, and he's just, and the music on that show, music in this country and just around the world was sort of making this huge like resurgence. Do you know what I mean? Like that emo punk rock emo scene was kind of like sparking up pretty heavy then. And as you could see by the show, I mean, even Gavin, even Gavin DeGraw, which Gavin's not really emo, but even Gavin's like, I don't want to be anything other than, what I mean? Even that, you're like, oh, let's go. The music on that show is just ridiculous. So I think all of that played into, Tyler Hilton on the show, Bethany. I mean, Beth can sing like no other, I think that was just so indicative of the scene at the time, and to be able to be a part of it was really cool. And then Station 19, um, I mean, to be a part of, the universe, Shonda Rhimes universe, and to be a part of Shondaland at all. And then my role on Station 19, Roscoe was a part of a really incredibly important story that was being told. If you watched, and so to be a part of that story, in particular, was like really impactful to me. Jason Winston George, Jay, and his brother Jarvis and I are really close. I love those guys so much. We're Virginia guys, VA. And Boris, Big Bo Kojo, and his brother Patrick Kojo and I. Patrick and I are super close. Boris I've known them since high school.
Oh.
So in Virginia. And so like I remember Jay and I, Boris were sitting there. We're like, are all three of us from Virginia? You know what I mean? It's like, and I mean, Boris is from Germany, but you know what I'm saying? We were like, Boris went to VCU, played tennis there. Jay went to UVA. I mean, I'm saying it was, so that one was sort of like getting the band back together a little bit. And then, Jana Lee Ortiz, like everybody on that show, Gray, everybody on that show does such great work. And actually that same season, my kid brother, TV's Grant Harvey, plays Gray's brother at the end of the season. You know how Gray and they go out he finds his brother, and he goes out and the brother is played by my kid brother, TV's Grant Harvey. Ooh. Yeah. So that was really cool to be on the same season with him. Talk about full circle.
Yeah.
And yeah, and actually I just did a guest star on an episode of Criminal Minds that'll be coming out soon for this new beginning of the new season 18. Absolutely not gonna give anything away, obviously, because it's a great show. But in that one, in that very first episode of season 18 of the upcoming season of Criminal Minds, one of my other oldest friends, Josh Server, also has a co-star guest star on it. random of each other. We both, and you're like, come on, let's go. So yeah, Station 19, to get to work with Jay and just the entire team at Station 19. The Friday, actually, just to give an indication of that, how that environment works and how supportive of each other they are. The last day of that episode, they gave out the crew member of the episode award, and everybody gathered around and like took a hard break for 10 minutes to do it. And they do it every single episode, that show did. And like, that's what it's about. You know, if you can bring your heart into it and you can lean into it and you can believe in it and you can remember that that you have the great blessing, the great gift of being able to be a part of entertaining individuals. You can't. I don't know. I can't trade. I wouldn't trade that for the world. But by the way, when the person comes in and does my lines in Italian, do they have like a sexy, you know what I mean? Is it a nice voice, or do they do like a wonky voice like mine? Do they have an Italian and they're like, wonky that up some, wonky it up more, or does the guy sound like, you know,
Normal.
okay, checking.
So this is it. And make sure all of you to watch The Life I Can't Remember on Sunday night on Lifetime channel. Thank you, Bourke, to join us today.
Thank you so much for having me, and thanks to everybody for watching both this and all of your interviews, as well as the projects that I'm involved in. Sunday night, The Life I Can't Remember. Check it out.
A pleasure. Thank you. And thank you all for watching. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.